Got that going now too. Alina, how's it going? Yeah, Heaven Sky. What's your realization that you had? What were like the things that you were kind of realizing about yourself and everything? Um, let's see. I'm doing all right, Alina. How are you? Yeah, you were up while I was on. I was kind of surprised. Yeah, I was just sitting back listening. I was playing Fortnite too, but I was just listening, and I had to take a few pauses too, you know. But it's it's a lot of stuff, you know, and heard the whole backstory and everything, and and all that. So I've been thinking of you, and I hope that things are calm for you at least a little bit. Feel numb, Elena? Yeah. Yep. Hey, Autumn, welcome in. Thank you for the heart me, Daniel, and thank you for the go populars. And Joso, welcome in, and thank you for the heart me. Nice. Got on last night, Fortnite. Yeah, I don't know what it is. The new update. Maybe it's just like all the like special power ups and stuff. But I'm just like terrible. So I've just been going at the like Blitz Royale and stuff. You'll be okay. I know you'll be okay, Deanna. We all know that you're gonna be okay. You know that you're gonna be okay. But how are you in the present? My glasses are off, so I can't read comments right now. I think, is that Gnome? I think it's Gnome. It is Gnome. Thank you for the go populars and the ice creams. You say yeah, like I'm gonna be able to read it. Currently 69 ice creams. Nice. That's a nice amount of ice cream, Gnome. Thank you. Currently waiting to be able to eat. I resorted to eating only one meal a day, so I eat as late as possible. Well, just try to take care of yourself, days get worse the worse the least you eat and the least you drink. So yeah, I've been off for a bit from it. I should do it at some point. You love the Hello? Yeah. Add me on it. Tim.adhd. I just decided to embrace that, since most of the people here will find me, or most of the people that find me from Fortnite will probably be from here. So just changed all my things to that. I never really had like a online moniker or anything like that. Just got home from a protest. It was nice to see all the good people out in the street. Probably the nicest anti-racism protest I've seen. That's awesome. That's great. Yeah. I'm 39 and going through this for a year now. Brave Bunny, welcome in. I've been going through it for a year now too, and it's pretty intense. I hope you've been giving yourself grace and understanding for the fact that this stuff is tough. You know? Sky, want to go back to sleep? Why do you want to go back to sleep? And Sky, it's good to see you. Lauren is here. Look at that. How are you doing, Lauren? Timothy Jr. What's this junior biz about? You're doing bad? Aw, happy face. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Why are you doing bad, Lauren? Um, Autumn, you had to pin it. Nice boyfriend has a wife. A wife. A wife. A wife. No, it's okay. It's okay, Autumn. It, that's usually Lauren's job, is to pin herself. A wife. Look at Joso's comment. Too many months wasted. Well, no, you learned. You learned a lot, right? And I think even at this point, it may be difficult to know what you gained out of it, but every person that I dated, regardless if it ended well or, you know, ended very, very poorly, um, there was something to learn, and I may not have known right away, but there was always something to learn, you know. Um, and you know, hopefully it's something that you'll be able to see soon enough, you know. Just in the moment, it's harder to see it. But yeah. Anyway, how's the weather? The sun is setting so early here in the north now. It makes me constantly tired and depressed. Yeah. You know, I like it when it gets dark earlier. But it definitely is an impact on the mood, you know. Yeah, so all right, let me see if I can get these things kind of aligned a little bit here. All of my screens are all kind of wickety whack. My phone is on 40 and I still have like 4 a.m. to make it last. No way to plug it in? Hey Mac, ADHD, complex PTSD. Here's my follow. 2-4 samesies. Well, you never know. You never know. The TISM is just a hop skip from ADHD, you know. And in fact, that was one of the last ones that I kind of figured out in the whole mess. And then, yeah, the dyslexia. If I told you what it was, chances are you might relate to it, maybe. But I'll keep you at the 2-4 for now. But welcome in. How are you coping with that stuff? Said next satisfying Chinese held Neria's second wife. That's from where he's from. Oh, okay. Let's see. As of recently, me too. All the animals go to sleep early, meaning I have more time to myself. That's good. Yeah, definitely. I have agoraphobia and borderline that takes enough RAM. Yeah, I get that. Borderline personality disorder is definitely something that I think is so much more common than people realize, especially if you deal with some of these things already, just because of how that is going to impact you, you know, and BPD is something that's developed. So, you know, emotional dysregulation is a big part of what happens with all of these things. And agoraphobia, well, I just don't like being around people, but that's also part of the autism stuff, you know, because of just how uncomfortable it is. But yeah, like I said before, I meet my partner, I had to make a lot of questionable relationship choices. Yeah. I made some questionable choices too, you know. And yeah, you learn, right? I have a fear of outside, and ADHD forces symptoms. Yeah. You know, a lot of these things are just, you know, hard to cope with and everything. But, you know, especially being agoraphobic makes it hard to socialize and everything like that. But you have community here, um, you know, to talk with, to relate, to be supportive, in a lot of ways that the world refuses to be, you know. So welcome in, and you know, hopefully you'll stick around. When winter comes around, sunrise is around 9 to 10, sets around 2 p.m. Yeah, it's a little bit rougher than it is here. I mean, here, you know, a little bit more southern than you are, but you know, sun will come up around like 7, go down around 5. So, um, going north. Yeah, I mean that's what they say about Alaska. You know, in the U.S. You know, is that you know, there's like 10 minutes of sunshine or something like that. Like, not that much. Um, uh, Hyper focusing on symptoms. Yeah, I mean that's going to be one of the things if it's really hard to get out. You know, um, is it being around people, or is it just being outside in general, Mac? Um, I get it, Anne. I get it. I get it. Don't stress it. You can still hang. Sky, Sky, it's okay. You know, just um, be be on Discord so I can at least message you and stuff. You know, I know that life is stressful and tough. You know, but still be around. Okay. Tori, thank you for the pumpkins. It's raining pumpkins. 10 of them. Thank you so much. Um, it's loud, it's fast, it takes everything in at once, it smells, and I start panicking. Yeah. Have you tried to like kind of break apart? Because this is one of the things that you can do, kind of like, you know, because you're focusing on your systems, your symptoms, right? You're inside, you're doing all this stuff. Try and break it down even further as to why, right? It's too loud. Well, like, what's too loud about it, you know? And start to think about all these things, and maybe even think about like, what is the physical effects that it's having on you? You know, what do you feel like in your body when this is happening? Is it just your mind freaking out, or is it your body? And if it is, you know, your body, what part, you know, what's happening? Because for me, I found that I had sensory sensitivity. Because when I hit burnout, I couldn't go outside without panicking. I couldn't even look outside because it was too bright. I couldn't go anywhere. Anytime I would go anywhere, I would have a panic attack. Um, and it turned out that it was all my sensory was just way overloaded, way, 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 way too overloaded. And so then I started taking care of it by wearing tinted glasses, which helped reduce the amount of light intake that I would have, not just because everything you see is light. So having the tint, you know, kind of filters out some colors, makes it a little easier to um, take in more. And then noise canceling headphones, started wearing those, and that would help as well. Um, you know, but I also like, it's touch as well. Like, touching certain things really makes me uncomfortable. Eating certain things makes me uncomfortable. Um, you know, and stuff. Um, but yeah, it's you know, take a look and see if maybe it's something similar to that. It could be, you know. Thank you for all the pumpkins. Appreciate it. I have a child that's autistic, and it's a lot to handle. He's 6. Yeah, I bet. Do you know sort of like what difficulties and stuff, you know, he's dealing with, or is it kind of too difficult to tell? Hey Beth, how's it going? One thing I hate about being so far away is the live lagging, especially when you're answering. A lot of that's just me too. I lag. Unless you're talking about the video freezing. That's like a US thing for some reason. The servers in the US are really, really bad. You know, if you watch other creators from other parts of the world, I'm sure it's fine. Anybody in the US or anybody in the US trying to watch anyone else, it just freezes constantly. Throws himself, he bites other people and himself. Yeah, you know, it can definitely be a challenge. There were a lot of things that when I hit burnout, I kind of like understood from like a very raw perspective. But yeah, you know, it's really tough. I would say, you know, just make sure that when working with him, especially when it comes to ABA, and things like that, that you're not trying to change him, but work with him, right? You know, work with his brain, help to kind of like, you can't necessarily steer it, but you can guide it. You know, you can help, yeah, you know, kind of sway it. And that can be, you know, a good way too, because you'll be met with a lot of resistance, you know, when trying to change the brain, because the brain's like set. You know, the brain wants to do what it wants to do. Plus, with autism, there's a lot of that, you know, the PDA, the what is it? I'm stuck on it in my head right now. I haven't taken my medicine yet. The pathological demand avoidance. So, you know, telling him to do something, trying to get him to do something, is going to be met with resistance. And it like, I have it to a certain degree, and it really is something that's just like well within you, that even if you know it's irrational to feel that way, you just still will, you know. But you're trying your hardest with him. That's all you can really do, you know. Just give it your best, and you know, he's got a great mom, you know, helping him out. You know, brother has autism, care level 3. That's great. How's my day so far, Beth? My day is going. Just had a few donuts with the kids, and my daughter's fully recovered. My son is now sick, and he does not like taking medicine. So I got him to take medicine. It was quite a battle, and so hopefully he'll rest now. Every time a truck passes by, you lose connection. I'm sorry, Joso. Um, I have a partner who I love to bits. He has ADHD, CPTSD, PTSD, autism level 1. I want to support him the best way. Yeah, so I think the best thing to do is, you know, definitely ask him what he needs. Okay, don't assume that you know what he needs, but ask him. And, you know, if you wanted to, it wouldn't hurt to try and, you know, understand a little bit more about these things, because I think there's a lot of perception about what things like trauma, right? What PTSD and CPTSD are, you know, and you know, people may think it's like a sadness thing, you know, or I can't get these memories out of my head kind of a thing. But it's so far different from that. You know, it's your body genuinely, truly reacting, despite what your mind says. And it is very dysregulating, very disorienting. The CPTSD part is so much more complex. It definitely earns that complex in its name. That can be a lot. That's been ruining everything for me. Not ruining, but it's been like basically the number one thing that I've been dealing with since all of this has been the CPTSD. But yeah, you know, just try and get some understanding, of course, and be patient. Be patient, you know, um, because this stuff is hard. Combat veteran. Okay, yeah. So you get the trauma stuff with the CPTSD. It's trauma like that, but over and over and over again over an extended period of time, usually by caretakers in a environment that you can't escape, um, and it has a lot of developmental issues that come from it. Usually happens in adolescence, um, and you would think, oh, it's so long ago, like it shouldn't have an impact on you, but it has an impact on everything because it's the foundation of how you developed as a person. You know. Let's see. I had PTSD, and when I told someone I can't control the fact that I panic in situations and freeze in the panic and can't function. Why do they snicker or laugh and basically say it's BS? Like if I can't get dressed, they say just get dressed. Yeah. Have you tried not being traumatized? How about that one? Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. I think there's a video that I posted about what it's like to be in sort of like the fear state that you have, or your survival mode. You could check it out, and maybe that will help kind of explain a little bit of sort of what CPTSD can do to your body. But essentially, for me, um, and for I think a lot of people, your amygdala is easily triggered. So biologically, your amygdala is easily triggered, which is responsible for your fear. And in your prefrontal cortex, you could still be like, I'm there, I'm present, I feel fear, but I'll be regulated, but my body will say, it will have its own sort of idea of what's happening. It'll get the signal that the amygdala is triggered, and it will freak out. It doesn't matter what you're thinking, it wants to survive. And that causes a lot of conflict between the mind and the body. And so it gets really, really deep. But there is a lot of, understanding that's possible to share, I guess, a lot of information that's possible to share that can help, bring that understanding. But yeah. Think I need to hear that. They call me Doc, of course. Yeah. Let's see. I haven't seen people from TikTok today either before this. What? Snicker Gnome? Yeah. Let's see. In a situation where I'm being traumatized, says if that's not his goal to get over whatever. A lot of time I'm so panicked it seems like my brain is okay and that's enough, and checks out. Yeah. So a lot of things can happen when you're triggered, and especially when you're triggered into a fear state. You can dissociate, and a lot of these are things that I've done, and I'm sure that there's more, but I'm just speaking off of my own experience because that's all I can really talk on, since I'm not like a doctor or therapist or anything like that. But when triggered, you can go into a panic state quite easily because you could have repressed memories come back. You could have, your brain, the different parts of your brain trying to get you to panic to survive, right? That's the whole point, is that you are put in a position where your body feels like it has the need to survive because in the past it has had a need to survive in situations. And so it doesn't matter if it's a safe situation or not, because your body is independent of whatever situation it's in. And it will perceive things the way it perceives things. And so, when going through and and getting triggered, you know, you can have, like I said, repressed memories that come back that trigger a bunch of emotions that really like lock you up and then get you stuck into that panic state. You can dissociate, basically just disconnect yourself from the world around you, because that's another survival technique. You know, you can go into a fear state. You can go into fight or flight. You can go into a survival state that gives you brain fog and like makes it feel like you have ADHD on steroids, you know, and that can completely dysregulate you, because then your body's only operating essential functions, and a lot of things are just disconnected or just such a blur. You know, there's so many things that happen in a trauma state to you that are absolutely 100% out of your control. You can't even like think yourself out of it. There are things that you can do to help, like emotional regulation, which has helped me. You know, when I get triggered now for any of my trauma stuff, for the most part, I don't become emotionally dysregulated. I can stay calm and present, but my body will still have a response. I have a functional motor disorder, so I get these seizures that are not seizures. Like my body will respond as if it's having a seizure, but in my head, I'm not having a seizure. And that's what will happen when I get into a state when I'm triggered, but I'm able to emotionally regulate. My body will still shake, because it's the nervous system. It's doing what it wants to do. I can't tell my nervous system what to do. All I can do is dissociate from it, but my body's still going to do what my body does. And so it's complex, you know. Psychogenic seizures, it's a functional motor disorder is the technical term, or the functional neurological disorder. But essentially it's, yeah, just a non-seizure seizure. Good morning, Mama Rex. Had a very similar situation, diagnosed at 40 with somatic anxiety, ADHD, ASD, and PTSD. Game of Thrones, welcome in. You are amongst your crew of people who have been through the same thing. You look like Tony Stark. All right, got the first one today. I get that almost every time I go live. But see, here's the thing. My beard actually grows in this way. I can't grow a beard higher up. And so it has that level to it. And then the glasses, even when I don't wear the glasses, I still get it. But I definitely get it now that I wear the tinted lenses. But even before that, I would get that. But mainly just from people who would see like my profile picture and that kind of stuff, you know. Never tried, but I guess there's worse people you could look like, right? But yeah, definitely suspect Pete Walker is reading for anyone with CPTSD. What does Pete Walker talk about? I'm assuming CPTSD, but any specific books or anything? I'm gonna see if I can look it up. I was diagnosed at a younger age. Hold on, browser window's in the way. With autism and ADHD, and at 14, I was diagnosed with CPTSD and generalized anxiety disorder. Valkyrie, and you're 19 now. Well, welcome in. You know, generalized anxiety disorder, at least from within my opinion, and again, not a doctor, not anything, but just somebody who has anxiety, is that, well, I was diagnosed with anxiety first, and then I realized, well, of course I'm anxious. Look at the stuff that I'm dealing with. You know, look at these things that are happening. So for me, and I think for a lot of people too, they're realizing anxiety isn't like a diagnosis of like something that you have. It's just a symptom of these things, right? Creating that anxiety, creating that stress, you know. And so you know, hopefully as the other things get under control and things are, you know, kind of taken care of, especially, you know, things like the trauma-based things, that anxiety can dissipate, you know. But I know for me, I used anxiety as a coping mechanism for my ADHD to complete tasks, to get things done. Fear of failure, fear of disappointing people, fear of getting fired. So anxiety played a big role in me being able to function with my ADHD before I even knew I had it. And so I'm hoping, you know, with a lot of these changes and stuff, I'll be able to reduce that anxiety. You know, get to healing, says Who Shimp. You at least look like a younger Robert Downey Jr., older Robert Downey Jr. Seems, yeah. Well, I appreciate that. When I smile, you see all my wrinkles, though, and then it looks like I've seen some stuff. Anxiety tends to be a symptom of autism, a lot due to being anxious about fitting in. Yeah. Yeah, anxiety is just really a symptom. That's why I don't like when people diagnose with generalized anxiety disorder, because it's basically saying this person has anxiety. That's all it's saying. But anxiety is normal. Anxiety is healthy. Anxiety keeps you from getting eaten by the bear that's chasing after you, right? Or the wolf or whatever, right? You know, anxiety is there for a reason, but it's when you start getting anxious about things, then you don't know the reasons why, when it becomes a problem. And so then it's about discovering, okay, well, why am I anxious? You know? And so it's really being able to break down where the source of the anxiety comes from. I just noticed the environment is what I noticed. Let me see there. Why do people think some mental problems you can control, like PTSD, but some can't, like Alzheimer's? People don't understand stuff, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here, is to try and help people, help remove a lot of the stigmas, but also help people understand the reality of these things. Because it's not just like a walk in the park. It's not like anything's being willed by us, you know. These are real things that are happening, real things that are seemingly outside of our control, things we didn't ask for, things that are just there, you know, that we struggle with. And we've been told to not talk about these things in society. So then we struggle with them silently. But maybe we should start speaking up about it so that it can start to be something that we can get helped with. Because, you know, you shut up about it, then they're just really like entrapping us, you know, trapping us within ourselves. And there's no healing in that. There's no growth in that. You know, there's just suffering, you know. And so we need to be so much more open about this stuff. Good morning, Vetter. When my mom died in 2023, she died a couple days before Christmas. Her birthday, New Year's Eve. I deal with depression. Sorry to hear about that, Bubba Day. You know, losing a parent can be very, very tough, you know, especially like around that time. I hope that, you know, you've been able to, you know, find some peace and stuff, but then also, you know, if still struggling, you know, someone to talk to, some therapist or something to help you out through this, because any kind of stuff like this that you go through that, you know, is, you know, devastating for you, is going to have an impact on you, you know, if not now, later on. And so it's important to take care of yourself and to make sure that you're being open and transparent with somebody about how everything's making you feel, so that you can process it and get through those tough parts. Because shoving it down doesn't work, you know. Yeah. New studies. A what cat? Have I ate today? Yeah, I just had some donuts. Donuts. It's Saturday morning. Hey, Alicia. It's hard, Bubba Day. I know. Um, if it wasn't for me realizing now that my childhood trauma was from my parents, I'd still be grieving my dad. You know, um, because it was a big loss. It was a big loss for me, and that happened in 2023 as well. Um, so really hard, you know. But yeah, so um, medicated or just going about things in a different way. I am medicated, but the medication's not working. So I've basically been going about trying to learn all the skills, do all the things that I can do that are not medication based, and then from there, you know, when the medication does start to work, you know, I'll at least have all the skills that I need as well to be able to function. But it's going to take me getting out of my CPTSD brain fog that I'm in right now from being re-traumatized last year. Um, uh, Misuse of DBQP, poor spelling, inability to memorize your own phone number, signs of dyslexia. I mean, they could be. I mean, I definitely have problems with my B's and D's, and um, for me, it's the I think it's the nines and the P's, right? Um, but um, for me, my dyslexia is actually word swappage. At least that's how it's manifested for me in the way that was identified by a dyslexia coach. Essentially, when you know, as um, I'll script out sentences before I say them, and that's one of the sort of autistic traits that I have. And so when I plan to say something, you know, I'll have it all ready, and then while I'm saying it, one of the words will come out different, completely different, but I won't even realize it. It'll just swap to a different word, and then sometimes it's like the opposite word. So do will become don't, can will become can't, and then it gets worse when I'm getting overstimulated or overwhelmed, like in an argument. So then when I get into an argument, it appears like I'm gaslighting. Yeah, Anne experienced me doing this because I think I was completely exhausted. I don't even remember what I was saying, but just things just started coming out completely different. And I had to end the live because I was like, what the heck am I even saying? Like I couldn't even, I was, yeah, it was pretty insane. But yeah, that's one of the things that happens. And really it is just like, you know, the things flipping, you know, it's pretty weird, you know. Um, um, but yeah, so Kat, are you suggesting that supplements and stuff are going to help with all these things, or what are you talking about specifically? My mom, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, Raindrop Spring. Um, they wanted to diagnose me with bipolar. A lot of people get misdiagnosed with bipolar, but yeah, um, it's not um, it's not always the case. Some of it's a lot of emotional dysregulation too that comes with all this. Do I partake? Not presently. I'm in a partial hospitalization, an outpatient therapy program, and they do testing and stuff like that too. Plus, while I'm going through a lot of this medication sort of adjustments, I am refraining. But I have noticed that in the past it has helped me with my ability to focus. That's kind of how I was able to tell that something was wrong, was because something was made better, you know, if that makes sense. Made better to where it was like not necessarily I was you know, like it was normal. Like it didn't seem I didn't seem like I got like a supercharge. I just seemed like the fog was cleared, the noise was cleared, you know. But those things are also psychotics, so you gotta be very cautious with that kind of stuff, you know, because antipsychotics are what you take for ADHD. So, you know, you it's kind of like back and forth cat. Yeah. So um, that's not the supplements and stuff aren't going to um, correct a lot of this stuff. So, you know, if you have some studies and stuff, that's great. You know, otherwise, don't really want people coming in here suggesting that there's certain things like CoQ10 that's just going to solve everything. You know, because that's not the case. Um, yeah. Um, it's a big relief being diagnosed because I knew what caused the issues, but I hoped more from meds. Game of Thrones, I am 100% right there with you. See ya, Joso. Um, because um, I was relieved by the diagnosis. I was super relieved by the diagnosis. The fact that it was all these things that I was fully aware of, but just never knew what they were called. And then all of a sudden, like one day, it's like, oh, those are these things. And then kind of realizing that it's not my failures was like amazing. It was amazing to like give myself that grace and that forgiveness for how much I beat myself up, and that understanding of that this wasn't my fault, and that no matter how hard I was going to try, I wasn't going to be able to succeed at conquering these things because of the way I'm wired. Um, that was such a relief, such a relief. And yeah, I expected more from the meds too, but the problem is that I did have a good experience with medication. You know, I took an Adderall instant release, and what I did to kind of test it out was I laid in bed after I took it for about 20 minutes, and then decided to focus as hard as I could. And when I focused as hard as I could, like I paid attention to like my whole body and like all my senses and everything. And I could hear like my ears cleared up, my vision cleared up as far as like seeing fog, and then seeing it, like so many things just kind of cleared up, and the noise was reduced, and things were just easier to focus on. And then even when I would get distracted, I could easily get back into where it was. But then shortly after that, my CPTSD was, I wouldn't even say triggered, re-triggered, but I was re-traumatized, and put into fight or flight, where I stayed for like 10 months afterwards. And so I'm still kind of getting out of the brain fog from that re-traumatization. But, you know, the reason why the medication's not working is because CPTSD mimics a lot of the ADHD symptoms when it comes to brain fog, when it comes to memory, when it comes to forgetfulness, attention, focus, all that kind of stuff. And so because CPTSD mimics that when you're in this sort of state because of the brain fog, and the medication that's used to treat it is to treat, you know, due to a lack of dopamine, but not because of the nervous system, the medication doesn't work. So it's kind of something that I need to work through right now through the CPTSD. And as soon as I work through the CPTSD stuff, and, you know, I'm able to get my body convinced that it's actually safe, then the medication will hopefully be able to work for ADHD. But it just, but yeah, so it's just kind of my own specific sort of experience that I'm having. But the medication did seem to work pretty good the one time it worked, you know. Supplements can help. Yeah, they're not going to cure neurodiverse. Yeah, absolutely. It's more just saying, like, you know, if somebody were to come in and say, hey, so all you got to do is do this, this, and this, and this, you know, that's a different thing, you know. And yeah, it's just, we got to make sure that we're telling people the whole story. And the whole story isn't that taking certain supplements is going to solve everything, because it's not. Because you're also forgetting about skills therapies, a lot of that stuff that's needed, you know. But yeah, they both definitely do have a role. It's true. L-theanine, creatine, magnesium, a lot of these things that you take, you know, can definitely help promote, you know, better cognitive function. I have a leg shake that they don't know if it's associated with PTSD or ASD or ADHD. Is it like involuntary, or just like stimming? because I know that I have a few different like shaking things. You know, I stem from shaking. I have a condition called piriformis, which is where the muscle wraps around the sciatic nerve, and so then my leg shakes. And then I also have a functional neurological disorder, which was learned from trauma from childhood, where my whole body just has seizures, basically. Um, um, yeah. Mm. Yeah, I've had deficiencies tested too. Yeah, I get a lot of blood work done from my doctor. I've actually been going to my doctor like even before all this stuff, like quite often, like every couple months. So it's involuntary. I can stop it if I concentrate on it. Um, yeah. If you can, check with a neurologist on that, or check with your doctor to see if you can get a neurologist referral. Because that's where I had to go to kind of figure out what was happening with me. Um, because I really did not know why my shaking was happening. My shaking was like my whole body, but then sometimes just my leg too. I was generalizing, talking to the whole chat. Yeah, I got it. Got any plans for later? Um, well, my son's sick, and so I am going to be hanging out at home with him. My daughter's finally better, so I'll be probably just playing Fortnite with her while he rests. And then I'm gonna clean the house. Probably trim the tree out in the front, you know, and all that stuff. So just cleaning up. I hate taking these pills. They're just so big, and I feel like I'm gonna choke on them all the time. You guys want to watch me puke? Normal adult chores, yeah. I developed somatic tremors from anxiety, which I thought might be Parkinson's, led me to a diagnosis. I seriously thought I was having Parkinson's. Um, I Let me show you guys my shaking, because I have a video of it that I think I now actually made easier to get to. Yeah. Oops, sorry. I just locked my screen as soon as I flipped it around. Oh, there's a Kings game on soon. I'm gonna have to go. All right, so this was the first time it happened, which was about 6 months before, well, 6 to 9 months before this night. And when this night happened, it came back for the second time. Los Angeles Kings hockey team. So let me show you the video here. So I had this like little bit of shaking where I couldn't, if I, tried to hold still, I could, but then as soon as I relaxed, like my legs, my arms, everything would just kind of like shake uncontrollably. And yeah, it looks like I'm like faking it or whatever, but really it was that. And then like my whole head was like bobbing and all that kind of stuff too. I was totally fine in my prefrontal cortex. I was totally there in my thinking brain. But my whole body was just going off, doing its own thing. And so, yeah, that ended up being the functional neurological disorder, which was diagnosed only like a few months ago. And that was back in September 2023. So that was a while ago. That was the first time it had happened. But later on, then when I had the repressed memories come back and all that stuff, I realized I actually did it as a child. Take large pills with milk or a smoothie because it tricks me into thinking it's food. Yeah. I just like, there's only a couple of the pills that are harder for me to take. Mostly because they're larger pills, like the gabapentin, my Concerta 54 milligram. Those ones are pretty harsh to take. And then some of the antidepressants too, because those ones just taste nasty. It's okay, Anne. Um, what do you got going on today, Anne, besides hanging out with your dad? Thank you for sharing the live, Jim Visuals. Appreciate it. And thank you for the follow. Um, so what's everyone else up to today? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well. I guess what I could do then, while all y'all are here, is kind of explain sort of my story then on what happened, this one night. Just got done with the dishes. Awesome. Awesome. Let's just trying to survive the day. I get it. I get it. So yeah, I always knew that I had like these types of issues, right? I just didn't know what they were called. And growing up, I had difficulty reading. I would tell my mom and she would tell me to try harder. And it was more just remembering what I read on one page before I moved on to the next. I also tried later on to ask again for help, saying I couldn't read, and was told, okay, well, try harder. So I tried harder. There were also other things too. I had sensitivity to sound. As a child, I would get scared of things like the sound of fireworks, thunder, like loud fans in public restrooms, loud toilets, like those types of things. And they would cause this pain down my spine. Okay. But as a kid, I couldn't really verbalize that, I couldn't really explain what was happening. I just didn't like it. Right. And it would freak me out. But somatically, I didn't know what was happening. And so, as I got older, the Sony Walkman helped me get rid of that sound sensitivity by I just turned the volume up because all the other kids were listening to their volume on everything turned up loud. And so I thought, okay, well, I need to do that. But it hurt to get it past 4 or 5, not all, let alone all the way up to 10. But I just turned it up slowly and kind of just toughed it out. And then eventually, like, it stopped hurting. But really, it was internalized into my back. So, I had always had back problems. Just my back always felt stiff and everything. But I didn't have sound sensitivity anymore. Still had sensory sensitivity with certain things. Like pulling cotton out of the medicine bottle is like the worst thing in the world. But I would tough it out and just deal with the chills and everything that it gives me. And so, all these things I just kind of like accepted as just me, and so I went through and continued to live life, right? And when I would get to any sort of point where I would run into difficulties with things, whether it having to do with the ADHD or the autism or anything, I would just try harder because that was what my parents told me to do, was try harder. So, stressing out at work, take a break? No, work harder, right? That's what I would do. I had so much built up PTO time because I would never stop, just continue working and work harder and harder because I was always constantly having to catch up because for some reason I just could never be caught up, and so more and more stress, more and more anxiety, to just get things done. But I was able to get it done, was able to kind of like build a career and stuff like that and work myself up, in the technology, IT software sector. And yeah, just got to a really good place as far as just in my career. And then I got laid off after like 12 years at a company. And that's when burnout started to happen. That's when it started to get really, really difficult to be able to work. Got knocked out of my groove and everything, of course, but then also just, the next jobs that I would have, I just wouldn't be able to focus, wouldn't be able to actually do the work. I would sit down in front of the computer, just stare at the monitor, being like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do right now. Just being like overwhelmed by everything, it would just sucked. And so I couldn't realize it though. I mean, I couldn't figure out why it was happening. I needed to work. I wanted to work. I could work, but I couldn't. I could, but I couldn't. And so it just got worse and worse. The ability to focus over time just got worse and worse. And then things happened, within my personal life. I had, all of my remaining grandparents passed. I had a brother-in-law pass away. I had my dad pass away. We had 2020 happen. I started developing some health issues as well. I had type 2 diabetes for a little bit. And then I had small intestine bacterial overgrowth, a GI issue that kept me in bed for a year, with extreme nausea. And despite the fact that I took the green stuff to allow me to be able to eat, I still lost over 100 pounds. It was so dreadful, so painful. And up until then was the worst things had ever been in my life. And yeah, so, when that, not the shaking and all that stuff happened, which I showed you guys, just a moment ago, that was towards the end of me having that nausea, maybe like about 3 months left of me, having all that nausea. And then I developed insomnia because from that nausea, from that GI issue that I had, I developed PTSD. Basically, my body was used to being extremely sick, especially at night, that I would not sleep. I would not sleep because I'd be too scared to sleep, because that's when it was the most painful. As soon as I would lay down, I would get extreme amounts of pain, like in my stomach, and just all the bathroom things that would happen too. It was just dreadful. And so things were just pretty bad. But I was still working. I worked throughout all of that stuff because try harder, right? I kept trying harder and harder. And so I was trying to figure out, well, why can't I focus? Why is it still increasingly difficult for me to focus? And getting worse and worse. So, my daughter was diagnosed with ADHD. And when I asked her what it was like, she told me what it was like. Not how she's doing with it. I asked her, what's it like? And she told me what it's like to have ADHD. And I felt like she was looking inside my brain, and saw things that nobody else had ever seen. And so it started to click for me there that it was ADHD. So I did more and more research to try and figure out what it was. So then that leads me to this night when I was doing this test that online that promised to allow you to be able to focus if you did these certain things or whatever, that if you were undiagnosed ADHD, it would let you focus momentarily. And so I did that test and I was able to focus, and it was great. I can focus all of a sudden. And one of the first things I thought of was my mom telling me every kid shakes. And I'm like, what the heck does that even mean? Every kid shakes. And so then I talked to my siblings and I was like, oh yeah, I remember back in the 80s, there was this thing that was going around when all these kids were shaking. They would just have these weird tremors and stuff like that. And I was texted them, I'm like, you guys remember that? And they're like, what the heck are you talking about? And I was like, oh, okay. Kind of backed down a little bit. And I realized, oh, that was a lie. Because I would have learned about this through some other means or whatever. But no, that was definitely made up by my mom. Well, why would my mom make that up? And what was that even about? And then I started to kind of get myself overwhelmed. I started to feel myself getting overwhelmed. And I started kind of shaking very similarly to the shaking that I had done, 9 months prior. And during that time, I started also experiencing some pain that was from this physical condition that I didn't know that I had up until that point. But that pain mimicked some trauma that I experienced as a kid. And it felt exactly the same as what I would feel from trauma. And so my brain immediately was triggered and said, you are in danger, get the hell out of there. But I knew, being in this same room, I'm fine. There's nothing to be scared of. So I just sat there and my brain kept saying, no, get the hell out of there. And it started sending me repressed memories, tons and tons and tons of things that I had long forgotten. Things I had packed away that I knew were there and knew were real, and did everything that I could in my power to forget them. And my brain was just forcing them back. Um, and that's when I realized, I have at least PTSD, if not something worse. There's some trauma there. And so I had about 3 hours of repressed memories come back of just tons and tons and tons of abuse, lots of bad things from childhood and everything, and like not only just like seeing them as memories, but also the room smelt like the air from that time. Like everything just seemed so familiar and so real. Like my brain was telling my body, like, no, you're in it right now. I was still in my prefrontal cortex, still in my thinking brain, still able to be present, but at the same time present and seeing what was happening in my head. And so it was a rough night, and then I woke up the next morning on my birthday, completely burnt out, completely without any executive function. It seemed I would walk into a room not even knowing why I walked into the room. Outside was too bright, everything inside was too loud, and I just was like floating around kind of like a ghost, like I could not function at all. Was I hungry? I don't know. I couldn't tell. Did I need to go to the bathroom? I don't know. I can't tell. There was just so many different things where I was just so dazed and disconnected from everything. And so I stayed, in that state for a good month and a half. But about 3 days after this event, I started seeing a therapist to work through the trauma, to work through what was happening, because obviously some big things needed to be taken care of. And so started working through that. My therapist, who I'm still with today, trauma therapist, but also neurodivergent themselves, was able to help me both not only with the trauma, but also help me navigate sort of the beginning parts of, getting assessed for ADHD and all that. And so then, I went through and continued to start my journey of trying to, get a hold of this ADHD stuff. And like I mentioned, I took Adderall, and it worked pretty good. Adderall instant release. It was starting on a very low dosage like they normally start you on, but I tested it out by taking it, laying down in bed for 20 minutes and then letting it absorb, and then getting up and trying to focus as hard as I could, because I wanted to see the before and after difference. And it activates when you try and focus. And so I wanted to just see like full blown, what's the difference between A and B basically. And when I did that, I was able to experience what it was like, basically having the noise calm, my ears clear up. It just seemed like my focus was returned. Like I was able to like just even focus on the present. And yeah, so then that was working, but it was gone within like 15 minutes. And so then, started working to try and get that back. And then one of the first times that I left the home after burnout, which like I said was about a month and a half later, that day I was re-traumatized from my childhood trauma, flat out put into fight or flight survival mode, and started spiraling really, really heavily. And it was terrible. I got to a very, very low place. Thankfully, my therapist was able to identify that and helped me, get into an outpatient therapy program, intensive outpatient therapy program, to help me out. And I was able to, get myself regulated. Eventually, I was able to learn dialectical behavioral therapy, which really changed my life, and helped me kind of align things out. For me, a lot of deficiencies that I had just growing up with all these different things. And yeah, then I started a TikTok, and here I am. But that's the long and short of it. There's been a lot of journeys, a lot of different things that have happened since then. Side quests, I guess you would say. But ultimately, the last 15 months have been all about growth and all about healing and all about trying to find out how and why behind a lot of this stuff. And so yeah, that's basically me. And I think one of the things too one last part on it was that when I found out that I was ADHD, you know, specifically, I was so upset that I had it figured out sooner, because of the struggle, you know, and I was really, really just upset about that. But when I um, realized what ADHD actually was and how it manifested in me, I realized they were things that I was aware of, even not being able to focus at work. I mean, I was trying to figure out how to focus. So these were issues I was aware of. I just didn't know what they were. And then when I realized that it wasn't just only the focus, but it was so many of these other things as well, um, it gave me something that I never really had before, which was confidence in myself, because I had lost confidence in myself, thinking that I tried to address these things but failed. Um, but since discovering them and discovering that these things were things that were outside of my control and I wasn't going to be able to address them, that I did my best. And so I had reason to give myself grace and reason to forgive myself for all the ways that I treated myself. And it gave me confidence in myself that I had never really had before. And, you know, hope that moving forward, now that these things were identified, that I would be able to find ways to navigate through it. That's the end of my spiel. So that's that. But yeah, how did you combat and get over the stomach and gut issues? For me, it ended up being small intestine bacterial overgrowth. It took them a year to diagnose it. They had to do a breath test to figure it out. And, you know, I still do have some stomach issues every now and then, but I feel like a lot of it is more of a trauma response. I feel very nauseated quite often, but because I spent a year in bed nauseated with a lot of pain and all that kind of stuff too. So, but yeah, not nauseated with anxiety is pretty common, you know. It's all in the gut, you know. And so I would expect there to be some nausea when you feel anxious, you know, but that's just it. If it's expected nausea, we're cool, right? It's when it's unexpected nausea, when you're like freaking out, wondering what the heck's gonna go on, what's gonna happen, how much pain am I gonna feel. That's the kind that I can't take. The kind that just appears and has nothing attached to it, you know. Did anyone else have trouble eating breakfast or feel nauseous if they brush their teeth? Me, I hate eating breakfast. And you know, whenever I brush my teeth, it makes me sick to my stomach. Still to it, but it just makes me sick to my stomach. Hearing sound or hearing electricity. Could anyone else hear electricity inside when they were young? I can hear electricity. Fun fact. Electricity is typically in B flat. Yep. I force myself to eat breakfast and lunch and I hate it. I force myself to eat basically anything these days, but I will not force myself for breakfast for the most part. Except for yesterday, I did have that breakfast burrito and it was a delight. Every now and then I do get hungry. Desiree, how's it going? Are you still there? You are still there. Thank you for the heart me and the Go Populars. Tucker, thank you for the heart me. And Crow, thank you for the heart me. Breakfast is my favorite meal of the day. Well, I guess we found something that we are not aligned in. Damn. Fasting is so important. What benefits do you get from that, Nick? Also hear the layers and frequencies and sounds and voices. Yeah. Breakfast and toothpaste nausea. Yeah. I think a lot of it is just like even just how maybe unsettling the stomach is in the morning, you know, when you wake up, you know, and I mean, toothpaste can be pretty intense if you have nausea, if you're feeling nauseated, right? I mean, how often will you accidentally gag yourself, right? While brushing your teeth, you know? Fasting helps. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Especially if it's strictly for GI issues. I get that. But yeah, so let me see if I have any other comments that I got up here. I remember going to school as a kid and feeling sick if I had breakfast. Yeah, I think I would only really have like Cheerios with like a lot of sugar. Um, yeah. How much do I hate ticking clocks in the house? 1 to 10? 10. You can hear those ticks. Those ticks are freaking loud. So loud. You need the ones that just move smoothly, but they also have to be quiet because sometimes you can hear the little buzzing from those too. I have sleep issues my entire life, inability to sleep, but now I have issues with oversleeping. Oversleeping can also be depression too, you know. Sauerkraut is great for the gut bacteria. I'll give sauerkraut a try. I will. Is there a way to lock the stream screen? I'm constantly scrolling too far. Huh? Deanna, I think I got depression. I don't know though. I mean, depression isn't just sadness. A lot of times it's motivation and stuff too, you know. But if anything, it's just kind of like something that you approach with an awareness of, okay, I need to get motivated. So how do I do it? I will go for a walk or do something like that. You know, a lot of the things like you kind of learn with ADHD is to trick your brain into doing stuff. You know. Excellent. I eat sauerkraut right out of the glass jar. Well, there you go. When I scroll through chat and go down too far, I swipe to a different stream. Oh yeah. I get it. Is there a way? I don't know if there's a way specifically. It might be if. Nah, I don't know really. Actually, that's why I'm always joining. Oh, I do the same thing too. When I'm in other people's lives, and the first thing that I think is, I bet they think that I haven't been here and I just got back, but I've been in this live the whole time. And so they'll be like, "Oh, welcome back," and I'll be like, "Oh no, I've been here, just swiped out accidentally." I got no motivation. The only place I go is to my dad to see my brother. Yeah, I mean, it could be depression, but it could also be something that doesn't necessarily need to be helped with like medication or anything. It could just be that, you know, you need to get out, you know, and get some sun, you know, get even a light workout, just a walk, and, you know, doing these different kinds of things, you know, can help out. What works awesome for nausea is ODT, like, oh, like a Zofran. I wish that would have worked when I had SIBO. Nothing worked. I would take Zofran and it would work for about 2 minutes, and then I'd have to wait 6 hours to take it again. It was the absolute worst. That's why I said, like, it was then that that's when I tried the green stuff for the first time. I went like some 40 something years without doing that, and then there was a need because I couldn't get rid of nausea and I couldn't eat. And so thankfully that stuff was there, because without that I would not be here today, you know. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I just got a text from a friend who I haven't talked to in a while. Let's see. Same. I feel like I think I'm an attention whore because of it. No. Don't think that, Mama Rex. We're good. Minus other persons for anxiety, and I do think they're helping for more than just anxiety. That's good. Yeah, I mean, anxiety can kind of cloud a lot of other things too. A 5-line routine that you do when you wake up. Oh. So like, are you talking like 5 steps? For instance, I wake up and I stretch, drink my coffee, then I eat. After I eat, go for a walk. Oh, you guys would be proud of me. Desiree, you'd be proud of me too. I couldn't do the whole month, but I did a week. A week. So baby steps. I feel like a new man right now. McGill, how are you doing? That was what I would have done if you wasn't. And I appreciate you. And I'm telling you, if you want me to accept stuff like that, then you have to accept when I tell you that I'm proud of you, okay, Anne? All right. Way to go! One less thing I have to remember. Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's see. I hurt my wrist 2 days ago, but now I'm better, and I'm having a week holiday. That's great, McGill. What are you doing for your holiday? These are a lifesaver. I have one for each member of my family. So I have one that's actually like a month supply, but I feel like that's too much for me. I feel like I when I go to like fill that in, I'm like, oh my gosh, like why do I have so many of them? So I may do like 1, maybe 2 weeks at a time, but I'll just start with 1 for right now. And if I can keep this up, then once a week to go through and do my pills isn't that big of a deal, especially for the ease of just not having to open every pill bottle every day, you know. I spent 3 months in a mental health clinic to get diagnosed and hydrate medication, lots of courses. Yeah, that's how was your experience there? Did you you know, being there for 3 months I'm sure was pretty exhausting, but I'm assuming that it helped you out pretty good. Tedious to fill them. A whole month would be overwhelming, and I did not realize that until today, Mama Rex. I did not realize that until today, that maybe it's because I'm trying to do a whole month and I should just do a whole week. I'm a genius. Brilliance right over here. Brilliant. I have all the good ideas. Oh, what was that author that the person was talking about a while back? I gotta search for it now. Let's see. I can't remember. Because I opened up the browser to take a look. I'll have to look at my chat later and see. Imagine doing that for more people now. So Tim, accept me saying when I'm proud of you because I truly am. Okay, I will accept it if you will accept when I say that I'm proud of you. And you don't need to know why I am, just know that I am, because I am, you know. Sometimes just being able to show up is something to be proud of. Sometimes just being able to get out of bed is something to be proud of, you know. And I'm proud of you, and it doesn't matter how big or little the thing is, you know. Breathing isn't all that matters. You also got to eat and sleep too. But yes, I am proud of you. I'm not going to be doing pills for poor people. Although I guess I kind of am for my kids, making them like take all these medications and stuff since they're not feeling well. But yeah, eating's overrated for me, and sleeping, I do that sometimes. Well, have you tried donuts? Because I had a donut this morning, and it was a delight, a delightful donut. It was how I brought my son into taking his medicine. So I guess I do eat breakfast. If breakfast is donuts, then I eat breakfast. Ooh, jelly-filled donuts. I like the cream-filled donuts. Yeah. I got so many things that I could say right now, but they'll just get me banned from TikTok, so I'll say them all later. Couldn't lock your doors, and they kept leaving mine open in my sleep, and it caused me a lot of anxiety. Yeah, I would bet. Donuts for breakfast is questionable. When are you supposed to have donuts? Isn't that's like the time to have them? Been dealing with depression for the last few weeks, steadily worsening. Is it the motivation part? And it's not like that. It's just when I talk about cream-filled donuts, I can only talk about them in crude ways. But it's purely focusing on the donut, okay? So I'll just leave it at that, all right? I just know that Desiree will be open to my type of humor when it comes to that. I think. I don't know. I'm getting the eyeballs now. I get so triggered by people saying you can only eat, drink foods at certain times. And I believe you owe Game of Thrones an apology. I'm waiting. Seasonal effectiveness disorder, yeah. And see, that's the thing is like I anticipate that's going to happen with me as well, and so that's when I kind of cope ahead for it, knowing okay, get a little bit more sun, get outside a little bit more, get used to that, because you're coming off of the summer when I don't even want to go outside. You know what I mean? So now it's like I have to go outside if I don't want to be depressed. You know? Yeah. Why can't you have soda in the morning? Yeah. Yeah, I've had soda in the morning. Man, you know what? Here, how about this for a logical? The best drink to have with donuts in the morning is Sprite. Okay? The clear sodas. Oh my goodness. Sprite, 7-Up, whatever. So good with donuts. So, take me to court. I don't care. It's the truth. Desiree, you're ruining the fun with the donuts. But what if I wake up early? Then it's not technically the morning for my body, right? I've always denied it because that's not what causes the depression. But yeah, the thing is like it's more of just like an added sort of stress that tacks on to the depression that you have. Donuts in bed. Okay. Duly noted. You want to drink cola? Cola's great. Are you a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi? And why is Coca-Cola the only real right answer? And you know what? Diet Coke is good too. Diet Coke is the best of the Diet Colas as well. As a kid, I used to like Pepsi, you know, but I did a lot of things as a kid that were really dumb. You know, Coke is definitely where it's at. So, but I do actually drink a lot of water though. I have to drink a lot of water. You only drink diet? Yeah. My biggest clue should be I started feeling worse when days get shorter, right? And it's only when you look back at these things when you realize it, right? You don't realize it in the moment. People as in Tiana and Kai, well, water is important though, right? And that's the thing too, is that like water genuinely will help you cognitively function better if you can just stay on top of it. You know, we burn through a lot of water, and so it's important to replenish it and get better. Yeah. Yeah. Drink cola all the time, 24/7, 365.25. All right, y'all. I am gonna go be a dad to my kids, who are resting. Passive perception. Diet Pepsi is 99.99% water. Go ahead until the end of that. See if I care. Yeah. But yeah. Licia, bye. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. I do appreciate the chat and everything. For those of you who are new here, I go live at 6 a.m. Pacific time. I'm gonna change that to during the week, because on the weekends I want to go live a little later. Yeah, so 6 a.m. Probably see me 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, but maybe throughout the day too. It really just depends on how active the kids are going to be, which hopefully isn't that active because they need to be resting. I'll get you a donut, Desiree. And yeah, let's see. Yeah, so wait, hold on. All right. But yeah, so what else was it? Psychology start from bullying or PTSD, so-called Oh man, you get the trolls that come in like right at the end. No, these aren't diseases. No, they're neurotypes. And it's not from bullying. I mean, my parents did bully me, but that's not that. But yeah, why do you gotta wait until I'm going to throw this stuff out? Psychiatry rules. But yeah, anyway. Yes, we can do that. But yeah. All right. Thank you everyone for allowing this to be a safe space too. And yeah, don't forget to join the Discord right there. No, it doesn't. Oh, okay, Joven just proved me wrong. Tim, you didn't know I was going? Aw. Well, would you like to stay and discuss? You know? And you can tell me how my hyperactivity and my you know, all this other stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with trauma can derive from bullying. Maybe another time. Sure, yeah, come on in. I'm genuinely very open to discussing this stuff as long as people are respectful. I am going, Alina. I am. I gotta go be a dad. But you can send me a message on Discord. I'll be around. Thank you everyone for joining. Join the Discord. Okay, link in my bio. If the link doesn't work in my bio, then go to timadhd.com and there's a link there. Besides that, I will see you all next time. Thank you again for allowing this to be a safe space for everyone, and I appreciate you all being here. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, bye. Bonus material for the YouTube.